Hey all, Nicholas DeMario of SterlingKisses.com here, and today I'd like to show you how I size rings. I'll be showing the process of sizing rings both up in size and down. Here we have a silver ring set with an amethyst, a wedding band in white gold, as well as an engagement ring. Before we do anything, I inspect the ring for any issues that the customer should be made aware of, if they aren't already, such as missing or damaged stones. This one has a loose accent stone that I decide to tighten before moving along to the next step, which is the cleaning process. A heated ultrasonic is used to shake loose and remove any debris and oils. A steam cleaner is then used to blast away any stubborn buildups. Of course, some gemstones are more delicate than others, so it's important to be aware of what cleaning methods are appropriate and which should be avoided. These rings will be going up 3 sizes. They aren't a stock size, so they've probably been sized before. I can check for this by applying a little heat to the shank. It reveals a secret that only fire can tell. It doesn't take much, just enough to discolor any solder that might be present. This thin line shows where the ring has been soldered before. I do the same for the other 2 rings, but use more caution for the amethyst, coating it with a heat shield. With the old solder point revealed, I cut along this line using a jeweler's saw. The ring is then pulled up the sizing mandrel to the appropriate size. These rings are being sized up to an 8.5. Sometimes there's so much spring in the metal that it has to be pulled up higher to relax it at the lower size. Once it sits comfortably at the right size, I use a small file to clean up the ends of the shank and shape them to hold the piece of gold that will be added. Then the shank and the sizing stock are adjusted so that there's just enough tension to hold the piece in place without it springing out. The ring is dipped in a solution of boric acid that's been dissolved in denatured alcohol. This helps to prevent fire scale. The metal is going to expand slightly as it's heated, so I use a third hand here to keep the sizing stock in place. I then examine the shank and make sure everything is lined up before soldering. Flux is applied to help the solder flow. Small pieces of solder are cut of the appropriate metal and carat to match the ring. There are also easy flow and hard flow solders depending on how much heat you can apply to a piece and how durable a solder joint you need. In this case, a 10 karat white gold hard solder is used. It might not look like the solder moved too much, but I'm only using as much heat as necessary, as the shank is fairly thin and I don't want it to melt or deform. The bottom of the shank is inspected to make sure the solder flowed all the way through. Here I'm preparing to solder the amethyst ring, again taking precautions to protect the stone against heat. Those tiny dark stones I've been placing the rings in is called carborundum. It does a good job of holding pieces in place while also offering protection from heat. I don't have a piece of white gold sizing stock on hand that's large enough for the engagement ring, so I'll just make my own. This will be done using the Delft clay method, where an imprint is made in this casting clay for molten metal to be poured into. A stock piece of silver that's about the right size is used to make an imprint in this Delft clay. I have a whole video about the Delft clay casting method that I'll link to at the end of this video. A bit of white gold is melted and poured to get something that at least resembles sizing stock. It needs a bit of cleanup, but it should do the job. Sizing a ring down is much the same process. As an example, we'll take this ring down 2 sizes. Figuring out exactly how much metal to remove is easy enough. Each size we need to go down is 2.5 millimeters. This can simply be measured and marked with calipers, but I have this handy finger sizer that helps too. I measure out 5 millimeters and scribe a mark on the bottom of the shank. That size piece is cut using the jeweler's saw. The shank is then bent inwards using half-round pliers. As a special note, it's important to clean the solder poker when switching to a different solder, so we don't contaminate the metals. The rings are then placed in a pickle solution to dissolve away any flux. Again, be aware of what gemstones can tolerate this type of treatment. Also, don't just drop your work in there, let the piece cool and place it in so it doesn't bump against something else. No need to risk damaging a stone when we're almost done. A short while later, once the pieces are done pickling out, I'm back at the bench. I begin to remove the excess metal, starting with the inside of the shank. It's then checked on a sizing mandrel. A rawhide mallet is used to round out the shank or to help bring it up to the appropriate size. If it came out too large, please see the previous chapter on how to size a ring down. Sometimes the ring can be a bit out of round at the solder points. Like many other things in life, this can be remedied by hitting it with a hammer. The outside of the shank is now filed and shaped to blend with the rest of the ring. Emery paper is used to clean up any file marks, and then it's on to polishing. Finally, we end where we began, with a dip in the ultrasonic and a final inspection. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Once again, I'm Nicholas DeMario of SterlingKisses.com. Thanks for watching.